Hello, my name is Opal Singleton. I am the president and CEO of an organization called Million Kids. We have been combating human trafficking, social media exploitation, and child pornography, commonly known as CSAM, child sexual abuse materials, for more than 15 years now in Southern California, but also across the nation. However, what's on my heart today and what I want to share with you is all about sextortion. Now, this is the beginning of a series of podcasts that we're going to be doing. They're called the Protect and Prevent podcast. Internally, we lovingly call them the 3P Kids broadcasts because they are brought to you by Million Kids. And the subject of sextortion is heavy on my heart. And so I want to really share with others how we can go about combating it, how we can really find ways to stop it. So this is about empowering you as a parent, as an educator, a social worker, a counselor, or as a young person to be a leader in combating sextortion. Now, sextortion is kind of a broad subject, and we're going to narrow it down with each podcast so that we can deal with that and know how to combat it, but more importantly, how to intervene. So one of the things I'd encourage you to do is go to millionkids.org and sign up for our newsletter. It's absolutely free. It comes out every week with all the latest cases of sex trafficking, sextortion, social media exploitation, and it's a great way to stay current. So go to millionkids.org and sign up for that. And also, if you're on Facebook, please look up Million Kids Supporters and ask to join us. You have to be admitted. It is a private Facebook page, but that is the way you can get the real inside kind of data about what's happening in crimes of sex trafficking and sextortion. So with that, I want to talk directly today about social media exploitation and specifically sextortion. I believe it just very likely could be the fastest growing crime in the world. It is all we can do in our research just to stay up on it. Because you see, as a team of people at Million Kids, we research all kinds of cases related to technology, such as sextortion, social media exploitation, sex trafficking, gang trafficking, foreign national trafficking, money laundering, all of the dark web, bulletproof hosting, all those kinds of things that are changing very, very fast. And we like to then pass that information on to you. So sextortion is basically blackmail with a photo or a video or even in live streaming, but it can also be from hacking. And you're going to see that the latest trend in sextortion is deep fakes. So I was very privileged to work with a group of people to be a co-executive producer of a movie, which you can see at any time. It's on Amazon, iTunes, and Apple, and it's called Sextortion, the Hidden Pandemic. And any age can see it. I would encourage you to have you and your family download it, especially off of Amazon, and see it. It is a story of a gentleman by the name of Daniel Harris, who was a very successful man. He was a Top Gun pilot. He was attractive. He had a beautiful wife, 2 beautiful children, and he was blackmailing 14-year-old girls all over the world. And so it's a way for you to understand how sextortion takes place. This movie was filmed inside a Homeland Security and with the work of NCMEC, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, which are real heroes in the business. So I'd encourage you to see that. Go to sextortionfilm.com or just simply go to Amazon, iTunes, or Apple TV and look up Sextortion, the Hidden Pandemic. So sextortion is a crime that I have been dealing with for easily 12 years, maybe longer. And it is just a devastating crime. It has a tremendous impact on the victim for the rest of their lives, but few people understand that it also has a tremendous impact on the victim's family, including their younger brothers and sisters, if that is part of the family makeup. Sextortion is a crime where the victim often participates without a clear understanding of what is happening in the moment. And that is one of the challenges in dealing with this crime. In the past, society has had a tendency to blame the victim without understanding the dangers that the victim and their family might be in because of the sextortion activity. In fact, you're going to see, if you follow us on these various podcasts that we're doing, you're going to see that sometimes this ends in a great tragedy, and a tragedy for the entire family. So we're beginning, this is the first, we'll be doing a series of podcasts on sextortion and social media exploitation, sometimes referred to as digital exploitation. Now, all of these podcasts are done so that you can hear them, but they're also going to be on YouTube where you can see them and see the slides that go with them in case you want to go back and review with them or draw them up and show them to other people or share them with your family. We're going to be looking at various types of sextortion. We're going to talk about the various types of predators, and there are many different ways that predators operate in sextortion. We're going to look at the predator themselves, and we're going to look at what their motives were and specifically what their tactics are, so that you can be sure to make sure that you and your family, especially the young people in your family, are not ending up becoming a victim of sextortion. Together, we're going to examine multiple cases and case studies to understand what factors were impacting the victim's decision processes, and even more important, what kinds of prevention and intervention activities could we create that would change some of the outcome of these cases. Some of these cases, I will tell you, Mom and Dad, are just heartbreaking. And I work with student counselors, and also people, school resource officers, educators, teachers, like that. And we often talk about what a travesty this is. As so young in life that these kids are so easy to manipulate, and how quickly their lives can change. So we're going to look at these various cases and say, what can we do different? I don't look at these cases just because I enjoy tragedy. I don't. I have, for the last 15 years, myself and a team of people at Million Kids have looked at these cases to say, what can we do different? What if we could have got to that kid first? What if they understand who the person is on the other side of the photo, or on the other side of that live stream, or the other side of that Discord app, and that is trying to lure them in, and what their motives are? What could we do differently? And that's why I'm doing this podcast, so you can join me in that, and I will share with you how to reach me at the end if you have ideas you want to share. We will examine the landscape of the ever-changing technologies that are facilitating this global expansion of sextortion cases. And that's why I say it may be the fastest growing crime in the world, because it is technologically driven. We are in a technology transformation unlike has ever been seen in all of history. So there are many different scenarios in this, and it's a fast-changing crime. In 2024, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, those of us in the business lovingly call them NCMEC, NCMEC, but they are the global cyber tip hotline out there. And they took more than 36 million potential reports of potential violation, especially related to online violation. Now, that does not mean that 100 or 100,000 mothers called in, but this is nearly 100,000 reports a day. That should make you stand up and pay attention, if nothing else does. That's about 98,000 a day reports of potential online abuse. Oh my heck, you talk about a tsunami of things coming through, and you say to yourself, it's mind-boggling. As a parent, as someone who cares deeply about kids, I say to myself, how do we ever catch up with that? Now, I will tell you that isn't 100,000 parents a day calling in a report. What happened, to be fair, I want you to understand how the business works. What happened is about 2-3 years ago, because of some laws that were passed in Capitol Hill and Washington, D.C., the FOSTA-SESTA laws, what they did is require that platform owners, people like Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all the app owners, that they actually create technology that would scrub their platforms. And we've been needing to do this for a very long time. So now a lot of it is automated. You know, we have AI out there, but we also have bots and algorithms. And so they can go out there and they can start to look at what is actually out on their platform. And if it's a image of someone under the age of 18 that might be sexual or illicit or maybe a nude, then they pull that back out. And that is how they came up with nearly 100,000 reports a day. But that also should get your attention, because that tells you just how prolific this is. This is not a small matter going on that's affecting a couple of kids who screwed up, okay? This is a major epidemic going on around the world, and it is technologically driven. The hardest challenge we have as a team at Million Kids is, how do we combat this? Because kids will tell you, "Oh, Mom, I'm going to know when I'm being catfished." No, you won't. They are so sophisticated. You might think you will, but you won't. And believe it or not, I've worked many cases where the parents are going, "Oh, they don't really know what the F word means. They don't really mean it. Yeah, they're talking about meeting up with them, but I don't think they really will." And you're just like, what do you do? How do I get through to these people? Because they're caught in this unrealistic position of, it's not going to happen to me or my child. We've got to get over that. It will happen. As you can see, it is happening on a massive scale. So sextortion cases in the past were not always taken seriously because the victim had often participated. They may have been lured into sending a nude photo out there, or maybe, you know, they're messing around. A lot of these video games have a huge amount of sexual content, animated sexual content. There's something about animated sexual content that makes us all feel safe. Like, you know, it's not as bad as the other stuff. It's very sneaky, because when you hand animated sexual content to an 11, 12, 13-year-old person who's going through puberty, and they're stimulated and they're going back and forth on a video game chat room, guess what, Mom and Dad? They forget that camera works both ways, and they get caught. Either that, or they hook up with some hot girl out there. Did you know there's something called e-girls that are actually rented out to participate with people that are playing on video games? Hey, stick with us. You're going to learn a lot. Maybe a lot more than you want to know. But it's an interesting thing, because over the past few years, I've handled many sextortion cases, and we would tell the young person, talk to your school resource officer. If you're not okay talking with your folks about sex, and I kind of get that, although I think my personal feeling is whenever possible, parents need to be involved, because their child's life could be at danger. But, you know, in the past, what would happen is the kid would go, "Oh, I screwed up. You know, I sent a nude and now I'm being blackmailed." And that school resource officer or a parent would look at the kid and go, "What the hell were you thinking?" You know, I mean, and they would chew out the victim. Okay, so the victim made a mistake, but that does not make them any less than a victim. And that does not mean they are not in danger. And if there's ever a time they need for intelligent, you know, solid, emotional, controlled interference, it is at that very moment where they trust you enough to come with you or to you and tell you that they have made that mistake. Few people realize the long-term damage to the victim and their families. And I really want to emphasize this. You know, in the past it was, "Oh yeah, he's got a couple of nudes out there and he's being harassed." that child's life could be in very danger. And I use the word child loosely. Sorry about that. I'm a mom too, But anyone under the age of 18, especially, quite frankly, adults get sextorted. They get blackmailed, they get in romance scams, and they get revenge porn cases. And we'll talk about that as we progress on these podcasts. But right now, I want to concentrate on the young person. They get caught up in the moment. And then once that nude is out there, you're going to see sometimes it can go to 1 million people in a heartbeat, just in a heartbeat. And in a flash, their life has changed dramatically. And suddenly, what they thought was a hot 14-year-old girl. And I will tell you, many boys are being sextorted. We have this tendency to think it's only girls because more girls are sex trafficked than boys. Or maybe I should say males and females to be more appropriate these days. But, it doesn't matter that they've sent that themselves. The second that it's out there, they've been tricked, and they panic. And some of them actually end up in suicide. And we're going to take a look at a whole series of those later on as we progress in this Sextortion podcast series. But as we look at this, what has happened is suddenly they've gone from talking to a hot 14-year-old to they are now turned over to the Yahoo boys in Nigeria, or to some pedophile who's got, 45 other victims, and they are demanding more photos. And they will show that young person a picture of their nude body, and they will show them a full list of Instagram followers and TikTok followers, and they will put them together and go, your life is over. Mom and Dad, if you didn't know that they can immediately get the list of Instagram followers and TikTok followers, and they will put your kid's picture, and suddenly your child just begins to panic because they're saying, I want $3,500, or I want more videos, or I'm going to come over and hurt you, or we're going to get together and I will take care of you and we'll run off together. I'm sorry that your folks aren't there for you, but I'm going to take care of you. All of those are various scenarios once that photo is out there. And suddenly their whole life flashes before their eyes. And they feel like they can't tell anybody. And they feel like they can't go to school. And they think everybody at school is going to know. And they think mom and dad are going to take my phone, God forbid. And they are going to reject me for the rest of my life, And they just absolutely cringe. And I'm going to tell you that I have worked with a lot of families where the father has said to me, I can't eat, I can't sleep. My daughter was coerced to do some things, and now it's all over the world. And he said, I look at her like she's broken, but she hasn't even been through puberty. I grieve the loss of her innocence, and I get mad at my wife because she wanted the phone for the kid, and I get mad at myself because I agreed to it. I get mad at the phone company, and I get mad at the app company. It's an interesting thing when you get into sextortion. I often talk to parents and say, who's really at fault here? And I'm not saying it's the parents always. I'm saying it's a mutual fault if we're going to play that game. Because we give phones and devices to kids before they go through puberty. And they are going to be any child that has a device on the World Wide Web before they go through puberty is going to see more bad sexual interaction than probably most of us have seen in our whole adult life, because they're easy to influence. And so we need to think this out. If you give a phone to a child, you hit that download on the app and you say, I agree. And you never once read what you agreed to. And I'm no different, by the way. I'm not holier than thou. Okay, I get it. You're saying, okay, I won't hand it to anyone more than less than 13 years old. And you hand it to your 9-year-old. And now, your responsibility is on there. Now, should the app company be responsible? Absolutely. That's why we put in laws that say, okay, I'm going to do everything I can not to put a minor online and to abide by the terms I've signed on my agreement. But in the meantime, in case my kid screws up, that is child pornography. Anytime you have an image and it's called CSAM now, by the way, child sexual abuse materials. And we have to move up with the terminology. But anytime you have an image that is sexual or illicit nature of someone that's under 18 years of age, that is CSAM, child sexual abuse material. And so it's really up to the platform to make sure they don't have it on there. But it's up to mom and dads to make sure your child's mature enough and that you prepare your child before you put them online as to the world you're putting them in. And then you stay and you get involved. Okay. That's really what it's all about. Most people in the past have thought that the damage was limited just to embarrassment and shame. And you go, shame on you. You shouldn't do that. So don't ever do that again. No, it's not that simple anymore. That photo can go to 1 million people all around the world and you'll never be able to get it back. So you have to prepare your child to live in that world where their nude photo is going to be going out to all of their friends and to them. And other people are going to come in and start demanding money and want to meet up with that person. It's not that simple. Even if a person has not been physically violated, they can be emotionally traumatized. And that is something to really understand. I wrote a book called Societal Shift. I'll show it to you in a minute. A Home Without Walls, A World Without Borders, A Home Without Walls. And one of the chapters is called The Phantom Relationship and the Prism of Shame. And it's a phantom relationship because it isn't like Uncle so-and-so came in the middle of the night and violated your child. No, your child wasn't physically touched and your child was seduced into participating. But that harm done to your child is as damaging, if not more so, than if they have been physically touched. And we need to really understand how to deal with that psychological impact. The psychological damage done to victims will last a lifetime. I kid you not. And it will also last a lifetime with parents. I go out, I do a lot of public speaking. I'm a keynote at a lot of places. And I will have time and time again, people come up to me and go, my kid did this. And fortunately, they trusted me and we walked through it. But it was a major turmoil in our lives as we understood the damage that child had experienced. It often affects the victim's friends and family as well as that victim. So few people realize that sextortion cases can also lead to physical exploitation, to meetups with the sextortion violator, and sometimes even death. And over the course of the next few podcasts, we're going to examine those case studies. So I hope you will continue to follow us. Now, I want to take this time to introduce this podcast by talking about the impact of technology on crimes of sexual exploitation. So one of my books is called Societal Shift, A World Without Borders, A Home Without Walls. I believe what I'm about to tell you with all my heart, and I think it's some of the most important timing that you can ever have to educate yourself on this subject. So I want you to think about the last 2 to 3 years, okay? We have experienced a technological transformation unlike we have ever seen in all of history. Many things have happened, and all of these will impact this crime of sextortion. And I'm just going to go through them high level right now, but over the next podcast, we're going to talk about the impact in depth of how this works. We're going to talk about mass audience live streaming in just a minute, but that is probably the single one technology transformation that has changed everything. I like to laugh, people my age, we're still on Facebook, God forbid. Okay. And I might have 45, I might have 145 followers. I'm not sure, but I know who they are. I admitted them like that. You get into mass audience live streaming, you're going to be on a site that might have 80 million users, might have 9 million coinciding visitors on there. And they are all over the world, and they have different goals for you than you have for your child. And they'll have different goals for your child than you have for your job while I'm at it. So we're going to come back to that one. Global webcam is out there, 5G, high-speed internet. We have children's video games. We have inexpensive tablets. Have you ever seen a kid without some sort of device? Even when they go to school, they're handed a device these days. Almost all your apps have a digital currency on them of some sort. And now we have animated pornography. That's an interesting discussion that you might have with your child. If you don't play video games with your child, especially dad, I highly recommend that you do it, but don't get addicted. They're very addictive, okay? But take a look at that and see, and talk about digital morality with your child. Hey, you just shot a cop. Is that okay? Even online, you know? Here, they raped a girl and everybody's laughing. And now, they're doing these things where you pay money so that you can get more points. Is that okay? And you look at the amount of sexual animation. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm not a prude. I'm here to save kids, okay? And I've seen way too many things over the past 15 years. What I'm asking you to do is pay attention to all of these changes. I believe with all my heart, we live at the most important time in all of history. And I'm not exaggerating that one bit. If you think of your life in the timeline of history and all the things that happened right up till today and where we are today with this technological transformation, I believe this is the greatest call to leadership of all time. And I am not exaggerating that. You're probably younger than me, so let's get with it. We need you. We need you to understand where you're at and prepare yourself to live in a world without borders and a home without walls, because your child is growing up in that environment. For me, I am like uber passionate about this, as you can tell, but I believe we got to get this right. Think about this. This is the first generation in all of history where our kids can reach the entire world, but the entire world can reach our kids. I believe how we prepare this generation to live in a world without borders is going to set the stage for all future generations. It's kind of like when the generation got new cars, and when they got telephones and when they got all the other things that are out there that kids do, where you lose control. They go off and make their own decisions. Well, we have to teach our child to make good cognitive decisions where they're going to be influenced by AI, they're going to be influenced by gangs, they're going to be influenced by cartels, they're going to be seduced in by all kinds of things which look absolutely innocent to them. And we have to begin to teach them good decision-making skills and to understand that they now are that first generation that lives out there where they can reach the entire world, but the entire world can reach them. And they are the ones that are going to teach the younger generation how this works. If you've seen the amount of technology advancement in the last 2 years, just imagine where we're going to be in 2 more years with artificial intelligence and cryptocurrency and the dark web and all the things that are speeding forward at the speed of light. We have a bit of a problem. I like to have fun with this, Mom and Dad, but part of the problem is, okay, we have all the apps our kids have, but we don't know how to use them. Our kids are technological wizards. They are. They get these new apps. They try this stuff out. They're doing AI. They're doing nudify sites, God forbid. They're doing all this stuff, and we're running along behind them going, you be careful on that thing now. Now, I'm exaggerating, of course, but you get the point, that how do we protect them when they know more than us? When they're out there in places that we don't even know how to start to get to? How does that work? And for me, it's a conversation. It's a relationship. It's building that relationship of leadership and building that relationship of trust. This is really, really important to me because all over the world, I see us giving our little kids adult technology. I love the little kid on the left, by the way. How's that work? I get it. I do. Okay. But it's interesting because that little kid knows how to operate that thing, but they cannot tell if they're on the World Wide Web where everybody can reach them or if they're on a little kid's video game. And this is particularly dangerous if we don't understand what's going on. For me, it gets even more scary because almost 70% of teenagers, this I believe comes from Thorne, almost 70% of teenagers sleep with their phone. I don't know about you, but I don't make great decisions at 3 a.m. And I don't know that a hormonal young 13-year-old kid will do that either. A world without borders for our kids is a world without borders for pimps, for pedophiles, for predators, for gangs, for cartels, and organized crime. And we have to understand how to work with this with our children, even if we don't know how to operate in that world. So the challenge with social media is it gives us all a false sense of reality. Okay, we all see what we want to see, and we block out what we don't want to think about, and we certainly don't want to think about our kids seeing, okay? So we have a way of just protecting what we see by not looking at it. That's the way it is. But here's the challenge. Our kids are out there, and they're out there fending for themselves. How can I teach a kid? How can I teach a teenager? How can I teach a prepubescent child when they're in danger online? What kinds of tools do we have? What kinds of conversations should we be having? And I tell you, I work on this day and night. Our team does too. We study it. We understand teen trends and like that. And we're saying to ourselves, what can we do different so our kids will know when they're in danger and be able to either change their behavior or ask for help? Here's one of the challenges. If you get a Snapchat, if you're 14 years old, baby, that is hot, okay? I get it. If you're 14, you're like, whoa, baby, okay? Except what is happening is you're getting this guy, and he's not all that pretty, okay? Now, I agree I'm older than the kids, but I can't imagine a 14-year-old who says, hey, baby, you're hot. But this guy had 300 victims. How does he get 300 victims? He looks like that to our kids. And that's exactly how it all starts. So very few people stop and understand the technological advances that have changed how our predators access, groom, exploit, and recruit our victims. And I want to look at that a minute. So I want to start you with mass audience live streaming because I believe this is one of the biggest ones that is important. Remember when I talked about that we've had this technology transformation and we had global 5G high-speed internet. That has never happened before. If you're living in Cambodia, which I did for a little while, you live in a grass hut with a dirt floor, but you have a little device. It's called same, but different over there. It's not an iPhone, but it's a phone that connects to the internet, and they're connecting to you. And the same kind of thing all over the world. The Nigerian Yahoo boys, the cartels, and many of these countries now have 5G high-speed internet. And yes, they can access your child from all over the world, whether it's Nigeria or Philippines or Ivory Coast or Pakistan or Myanmar. It doesn't matter. By the way, grandma and grandpa on there have the same danger. That's how they end up in romance scams, because people in third world countries now have technology, and they're on the same platforms as your children and your grandparents, by the way, who are looking for love in all the wrong places. And so there they are. Everybody is together now, connected. That was not true 2 or 3 years ago. And that's why I say it's the most important generation, because this is the generation that will live on that platform that is globally connected. And so not just a few pedophiles are bad news here in America, but predators and pedophiles and gangs and cartels and pimps all over the world can now access your children because they're on these apps. This mass audience live streaming. We've gone from me having 45 followers on Facebook to TikTok, which has millions and millions of followers. Apps like TikTok or Discord, they allow mass audience live streaming. Fortnite and your PUBG games and Roblox and TikTok and Byte and Light, all of those have millions of simultaneous users on there. I looked up Roblox today as I was making that. Depending on which article you're reading, they have somewhere between 60 to 85 million daily users. Hello? 60 to 85 million daily users. Now, that doesn't mean every one of them can reach your child. They have over 300 million monthly users. That doesn't mean everyone can reach your child. But these guys know, they're good. They know what games little kids play on or teenagers play on. You know, the same way with Instagram. You go by hashtag hot cam girls. Whoa, what are you going to find there? Hashtag itty bitty bikini. You know, you get these hashtags, and that's exactly what they play on and do. And it's a fascinating thing to watch when you realize that it's like taking your child down to a stadium with 5 million people and say, okay, you be careful out there and let me know when you're ready to go home. It's that very scenario. 60% of Roblox users are under 16 years of age. You don't think a pedophile knows that? You don't think that a cartel is looking to recruit young kids know that? 21% are under the age of 9. It gives me cold chills, okay? 21% are 9 to 12, you know, like going through puberty, experimenting, thinking you're cute, trying things out. And 16% are 13 to 16 years old. Discord, that's the gaming platform that so many pedophiles use, is estimated to have 25 million daily users, 656 million users total by year end. In fourth quarter 2023, now Discord is making a concerted effort to have child safety standards, and they scrub their databases and they scrub their platforms and they do algorithms and like that. So they are making an effort to find images of anyone under the age of 18. But I want you to understand something, Mom and Dad. If that image is out there, somebody put it out there, it's most likely your child. And so that gives you an idea of how often it's out there. And once what the child doesn't understand is once it's out there, you can't ever get it back. You can try. There's something called Take It Down, if you want to Google that. But the young person has to keep the image they posted themselves in order to be able to match it. Otherwise, it can't be taken down. And there's no guarantee that everyone will be taken down, because what happens in these is once that image goes out online, it is then just shared with pedophiles and dark web rings. One particular pedophile ring had over 1 million paid subscribers. Once it's posted, you'll never get it back. Now, Discord is trying to make your child safer, and so they took down 28,000 servers that were shut down, 12,000 servers for engaging in illegal activity, and 116,000 accounts were banned due to child safety. Now, that gives you some sense of comfort, and I'm grateful that they're willing to do that, because Discord is a massive platform that all kinds of people are on, including predators, pedophiles, and cartel from all over the world. And so we're glad that they're making that effort, but we've got to speed this up. We have to approach this on both ends, help the platform company take them down and get our kids to never do it, and be able to have that relationship with our kid so that if they've done it and they'll come and talk to us, we can assist them. Give you an idea, this is 5 years ago. Fortnite had a game in the Marshmallow Concert, and on Fortnite, they had 11 million players. That was 5 years ago. So imagine where we're headed. I want to give you a real life case like this. I met a very lovely lady. She really was, and she was a good mother. And she came up to me and she told me that her young daughter wanted to be an influencer on TikTok, and that she was so proud of her because she already had 1 million followers. Well, that's not all that impressive on TikTok. I mean, a lot of influencers have 8 million, 10 million, 16 million, whatever. But I said to Mom, how old is your daughter? And Mom says, well, she's only 11. So I'm saying, Mom, let's think about this a minute. Your 11-year-old daughter wants to be an influencer. So she's trying to get as many people as she can to follow her, okay? And so it's an interesting thing. And I share this story a lot with kids in school. If your 11-year-old daughter has 1 million followers, what percentage of them are pedophile? And it's a good question to ask your kids and your grandkids, by the way. Grandparents get away with stuff that parents can't get away with. So go for it. Okay? I'm a grandparent. We can do it. Anyway, but think about this. If you have 1 million followers, what percentage are bad guys? Let's say it's only 1%, because I'm not good at math. Okay. 1% of 1 million followers is 10,000 people who are going to meet up with this young lady on TikTok and say, hey, baby, you're hot. Meet me on Instagram. I'm going to get you more meet me on Instagram. Send me more of those photos. Make them better. And I'm an agent. I'll make you famous. What just happened there? He or she, the pedophile, and yes, there are female pedophiles. Anyway, they are asking her to go from TikTok to Instagram, aren't they? That is your number one clue that you're talking to a pedophile, okay? They will move you from one app to the other. And that should be absolute warning. If you're on a dating site, they say, hey, let's talk offline. Hello? No. I don't do that. Thank you. Because they're trying to separate you from anybody that can monitor what's about to happen. So they will move you from one app to the other. Hey, baby, you're hot. Meet me on Instagram. Get me more of those photos. I'm an agent. I'll make you famous. Now, think about this for a minute. She wants to be an influencer. He's an agent, okay? He's going to make her famous. You know, how strong can this 11-year-old girl stand against 10,000 potential pedophiles who are saying that exactly what she wants to hear? And that is the challenge for all of this when our kids are left to operate in this environment without supervision, because it just takes one. It doesn't take 10,000. It just takes one. They will move you from one app to the other, and they go, hey, this is our little secret, don't tell. I tell kids all over the world, anybody who moves you from one app to the other, who takes you off a dating site or a chat room or a hookup site and says, don't tell, run, baby, run, you're in trouble. Go now while you're still ahead of the game, and don't ever send them more photos. The impact of technology on transformation on crime and crime solving cannot be understated. What I really want you to appreciate, especially mom and dad and counselors and teachers and therapists and people that are intervening with these kids, is most apps now have money transfer. You know, when they wanted to trick you 5 years ago, you'd have to go to Target and get a gift card. You don't have to go anywhere now. All the apps. And by the way, our kids are the first to get Bitcoin because they come in all the video games. And so if you're dealing with someone who's blackmailing for money, and that is starting to be a huge national trend, international trend, and it's leading to many unfortunate deaths early on where kids panic and take their own lives. And we're going to talk about that. It's called financial sextortion. And my next video will probably be on that, or at least the one after that will be. But tell your kid right now, okay, just because you can pay somebody online, if somebody's asking you for money online, come tell me. Because I'm going to tell you right now, you'll never have enough money to make them happy. I don't care how much money you raise, you will never have enough money. And so the idea of financial sextortion has really taken off in the last 18 months. And it's a travesty because some of our finest young people across the nation are taking their own lives because they're being blackmailed. But this is able to happen because even people in Nigeria, even people in Myanmar have access to money transfer capabilities. And these big cartels have learned that they can get a nude out of our kids and then blackmail them for money. They can make a lot of money. $3,500 in Nigeria is a retiring fortune. And they are doing it by the hundreds of millions and into the billions at this point. So think about the fact that it's now easy to pay people off. Now, most apps have geolocation software, and that makes it easy for a predator or a perpetrator to know where the victim's located. And I've seen way too many of these dating sites, especially in the LGBTQ community, QI community, where they'll go on Grindr. That's Grindr. There's no E in Grindr, mom and dad. But a person may think that they want to experiment with an alternate lifestyle and they don't want to talk to mom and dad. They'll go on Grindr, and this guy will suddenly pop up on there because it gives you the people closest to you. And you go, hey, you don't have to talk to your folks about it. You know, I'm only 4 miles away. Let's meet and I'll mentor you. And that's exactly how these geolocation software works. It's also used to let that victim know that they know exactly where you live. They know, they have pictures of your house and who you are and where you go to school, and they can show you that they know that. So that makes it an important impact. Artificial intelligence will be used in multiple ways in sextortion. Okay. And I may do an entire podcast just on artificial intelligence. We are just getting started. And this is the reason why, if you're still listening after 44 minutes, I want you to know how important you are to me, because this tells me you're serious about getting educated about sextortion. And we need every leader we can get to take this on. In artificial intelligence, there are many good uses for artificial intelligence and crime fighting and like that. Speaking of that, I just want to share with you, I'm not against technology. Technology's here to stay. Our challenge is to teach our children to live in this world without borders in a way that they can prepare the next generation. We can't, and I'm not saying we put young kids on technology before they're old enough, but technology's here to stay. Technology is not good or bad. Technology is like a car. You take that car off to a university, you get a degree. You take a car out to a strip club, you get yourself in trouble. It is not the car, it is how you prepare the driver of the car. And we do not put little children behind the wheel of a car, at least most of us. There's some idiots in the world, but I can't be responsible for them, okay? So think about this with artificial intelligence. There will be many good uses for artificial intelligence, especially in crime and crime solving. Basically AI is used to scrub these platforms and find the images of kids that are nude and illicit or sexual positions. And, now that they've done that, I mean, look what happened. Literally 32 million reports happened last year just from scrubbing a few platforms, not even all the apps that are out there. This tells you, first of all, the power of AI for good, but it also tells you how many times our kids have taken a chance and ended up online where they can be violated. So artificial intelligence also, though, will be used by perpetrators, by pimps, by pedophiles, especially where they can say, hey, you have to pay me because I know everything about you. Here's your school where you go. Here's your picture of your sports team that you're on. Here's a picture of your mom. Here's a picture where she works. By the way, here's a picture of your house. And if you've had your house on Zillow, they'll show the picture of the kid's bedroom. And this kid just panics. Oh my God, they know everything about me. And I've sent them a photo. I have to cooperate or they're going to destroy my whole family. And so you can see the power of AI when it comes to using that to blackmail children. It'll also be used to make the perpetrator look acceptable to the victim, using AI-generated voices and videos and images so the victim will not realize they're being scammed. So many times, this happens on romance sites too. I'll be talking to somebody who sent off like $40,000 to someone they'd never met online. And these are, retired CEOs and intelligent people who are hot and heavy into some romance date. And they'll go, no, I saw the picture. We videoed. They make videos with AI. Okay, they can use AI responses. They can change the look of the video and like that. And if they can do that to an adult, imagine how easy it is to literally, seduce and make a child believe them. So it's going to be used to make videos look acceptable, to make the perpetrators look acceptable, so they won't realize they're being scammed. So we're coming to a close of this, but I want to just share with you that over the next few weeks, I am going to be preparing a series of these podcasts, and they also will have this visual with them that you can see over at. I guess they're on. I can't think of it right now. YouTube. How hard can that be? My brain's all off on all this technology. I can't remember YouTube. Bear with me. My brain's full of stuff. Anyway, but these will be posted on YouTube. I think they might be posted on Rumble. I'm not sure. But there are many different ways this works, and there's many different motivations. You can get these phishing emails. You can get hacking. You can get deep fakes. Revenge porn is when two people get together, they get hot and heavy, and for whatever stupid reason, forgive me, but for whatever reason, they think they need to take a picture of that, and then they exchange that. And that works real well until one of them breaks up. And then the other one's kind of ticked off. And maybe one of them really doesn't have strong character, which is why they broke up in the first place. And then now those photos are out there. And I've seen cases where we need to take romance scams and revenge porn very, very seriously. Revenge porn can lead to stalking. It can ruin people's lives. It can keep them from getting into to school or getting a good job. It can ruin them in their community. It can ruin marriages. We're going to talk about romance scams because I'm very, very concerned. I just saw an article this week where the U.S. government said that in the U.S. alone, romance scams, this is mostly older, middle-aged and older adults that go on these dating sites and fall in love and start sending money or getting hooked up and investing in cryptocurrency is another one. And what happens, it's $108 billion business right here in the U.S. Then we're going to look at different kinds of sextortion based on the perpetrator, such as individual pedophiles who want to own and control and dominate. And they may keep that same young victim for a year or 2 or 3 years, absolutely destroying their life, or they may meet up with them where it ends up being absolutely violent. And we're going to talk about several cases. We're going to talk about individual pedophiles who want more photos because they're part of a dark web ring. And we're going to talk about how dark web rings work, bulletproof hosting, where those photos go when you hit send and why you don't want to, and how those dark web rings work and why somebody is sextorting you to get those photos and why some of their victims are like maybe teenage girls, but others of them are 9-year-old boys. And why that, what is driving that kind of thing. We're going to talk about individual pedophiles that want to meet up and end in sexual violation and sometimes even death. And we're going to talk about when groups of pedophiles get together, they'll most often want more photos, but they will have tens of thousands of victims. And then the biggest one, the newest one, is called financial sextortion. These are overseas telemarketing companies, and this is mostly about destroying our young males for money, and a lot of it. And this is all about like your Nigerian Yahoo boys, the Ivory Coast, the Pakistan, your Philippines, your Myanmar, where they literally are ran by cartels. And once your child has sent that photo, their lives become just living hell. We had one case that I studied, and in these cases, so many of these really, really successful young males, they're homecoming kings, they're sports stars, they're incredibly intelligent. They've already picked out their college. They would normally never do this kind of thing. And they, in a weak moment, they get lured in, and now they want money and a lot of it. And too many of these kids now are taking their own lives and committing suicide. We got to get ahead of that. It's a conversation. I mean, what I believe, I've never met a kid yet that wanted to be violated. What I know about kids is if we understand and educate ourselves and educate them, that they can then take it on to the next generation so that never again should another child be violated and especially take their lives. To lose your child to a Nigerian Yahoo telemarketing scam is just heartbreaking. And more than 50 kids in the last 12, 15 months have done that. And we really want to get on the forefront of that. So during the podcast, we're going to talk about who are the predators and why do they do what they do. Okay, we're going to talk about how predators access, groom, recruit, and exploit their victims. We'll look at different case studies and say, this is how this one worked and this is how this one worked, so that you can share it with young people in your life. We're going to look at who are the victims and how are they coerced into participating. Believe it or not, many victims of sextortion are incredibly intelligent, super achievers, smart kids who you would never once think would be in trouble. You know, I listened to one of the stories and the parent said, he's 17 years old, 6'2", and I quit checking his phone. We quit having that dialogue. I was thinking of him as a man, but nobody talked to him about financial sextortion. Nobody was able to understand what happened because they probably weren't aware of it themselves. And we're going to talk about the role of the global internet connection and how it is used to blackmail kids into this financial sextortion. We're going to examine several of those cases. Several of the parents in these cases have come forward, and they are just heartbroken, and they want to tell their child's story. And so we're going to tell you how to find those stories. Just on a quick one, you can go to YouTube. Keeps evading my mind. Go to YouTube, okay, and put in teen suicide sextortion or sextortion teen suicide, and you will see several of those yourself, and you can see them. However, I would caution you, if you read those, make sure you're good to yourself that evening. You know, we're trained researchers on this kind of thing. We know how to do self-care, but if you're going to get yourself reading that, take self-care. We're going to discuss how parents and teens can form a proactive relationship to become leaders in combating sextortion. We're going to look at the possibility of creating an internet usage contract between the parent and the minor. So just a couple of hints as we close out here. One of the things I would suggest to you to get started is, as you and your family decide and to start to talk about this, get yourself a password between each other. Because a lot of times using AI, these perpetrators will pretend they have your child or know your child. And you can ask them for that password. And if they can't come up with it, you know you're not talking to your child, or your child is in danger, but maybe not the way you think. Also, if you think your child's a victim of sextortion, the first thing I'd advise you is put the anger away. Do everything you can to settle yourself down. Don't go in there wagging your finger and making wild allegations. Stay calm and sit with your child and say, I see you dealing with something really deep. Is it possible that we could talk about that? If they can, maybe you can say, you know, I hear about stuff online. Is that something that maybe you could share with me? And if no response, I want you to tell them, you know, I don't know what's going on here, but when you're ready to talk, I'm right here. I believe in you. I love you. I'm here for you. You are not alone. And I am here with you to get through this together. If you think your child's a victim of sextortion, do not go on and go, you lousy pedophile, leave my kid alone, okay? Do not alert the predator that you know that something is going on. Do not delete the photos, okay? That, I know they're hard to look at, but screenshot them, that is evidence. And then don't show those photos around to other people. That's your child's dignity. Go to your local law enforcement and take the child and the phone. And I don't care if the child's 6'2", by the way. Take the minor, the individual, and ask for cybercrimes unit, or report it to NECMED. And then everybody gets counseling. This is life-changing. It'll change your relationship with your child. You'll find yourself getting angry with them. You'll want to take back the phone, which is their biggest fear. But one of the things you do need to know, that even if you block that perpetrator, they will come back as a different name, using a different device. And then develop a family strategy. Make sure even the younger children get some counseling. You know, that live streaming on that gaming comes right into your living room, and they can see your 12-year-old sister, and they're not above using that situation. Then talk about grace. You know, these kids need inclusion. They need love. They need forgiveness. and you tell them up in advance, I hope you don't put those nudes online. I hope you don't do a deep fake. I hope you don't interact. But if you do, I want you to know I will forgive you and we will get through it together. It's going to take both of us. In closing, I would encourage you and your family to go onto Amazon, Apple, or iTunes and see the movie Sextortion, The Hidden Pandemic. I hope that you will see it. This is a national reporting hotline. This is not 911. If you have an urgent situation, go to your law enforcement and ask for cyber crimes. If somebody's life is in danger, dial 911. If you need to report, go to law enforcement, ask for cyber crimes, take the phone, take the individual. Watch out for suicide. Several of our victims have committed suicide, not our victims, but victims that are doing this. And so pay attention and make sure you talk with your child to let them know how important they are to you and that there is nothing in their life worth losing them over. And finally, this is how you can reach me. But I hope that this podcast has been helpful. I hope that the slides have been helpful for those of you that are seeing in person. The rest of you are hearing it through a podcast. Please go and follow us. You can call the national hotline 1-888-3737-888. The suicide hotline is 988, just on dialing. And this is Opal Singleton. You can reach me at Opal, OPAL, at millionkids.org. Opal, OPAL, at millionkids.org. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time on our Protect and Prevent podcast. I hope it was helpful.